doing?
Making a video. You want to be in my video?
No.
Huh?
You gonna be in Daddy's video?
No.
Be in Daddy's video.
Right here.
Okay. Alright, so I haven't made one of these videos in a while, and I'm going to try to keep this one age appropriate. My wife has asked me for PG-13.
PG.
We all know how hard that is for me. Apparently it's PG now. I've been downgraded. So, went up to the Veterans Service Commission office here in Franklin County, Ohio. Columbus and outlying areas. Now, I've got a DD-214. I'm going to upload a picture of that. I've got to block out some information first. I don't need to give everybody my social security number and all that information. So I can prove I served. And I've got all the paperwork to document that. Now, call it luck, call it good luck, bad luck, God's hand, whatever. But during my service, I managed to get in as my unit was coming back to Ohio as a reserve unit, and I managed to get out just before we redeployed. So I'm one of the few post 9/11 infantrymen who never actually served in a combat zone, which is unique in of itself. That is my little girl, and she's putting her tongue out because she disagreed with what people are doing too. So I go down, I talk to this guy. You're the one who got in the video, so go down.
How's it your fault?
Talk to this nice gentleman with a pretty good accent from West Virginia, and
Pretty good, huh?
we went through the paperwork. I'm trying to get some benefits, maybe some education benefits. I don't know, maybe something to make me not a statistic like being homeless. And I found out that 5 years and being injured, which they lost the paperwork for, I'm not a veteran. Under Ohio law, I am not a veteran of the United States Armed Services. That is my dog. And if these people don't start playing nice, I'm going to send my 14-year-old attack dog after him. He's just Shih Tzu.
I'm Rocky. My name's Rocky.
He's a little on the blind side, kind of deaf, unless you open a cookie wrapper. And I'm not talking dog cookie, I'm talking real cookies. So, now that we're done with that, I want to get back on topic here. So here's the deal. They tell me that under Ohio law, I am not a United States military veteran.
Yeah.
DD-214 in hand. Proof I was in the service through my yearbook and the pictures and different parts of my SRB. So they can verify I served. They can verify I'm now out of the service, but I'm not a veteran. So I rate no veterans benefits. Now, I've been out for 11 years, give or take. And so I've never asked for benefits. I've never asked for help. I'm not trying to drain the system. I just need a little help right now. So I went down to see if I could cash in on that check that Congress wrote for us. Just get a little bit of help to get back on my feet. And they told me that under Ohio law, I'm not a veteran because I'm a reservist and I did not deploy. So I signed a blank check for my country up to and including my life. I volunteered for 300 deployments. Was never selected because different rank issues and not having classifications, blah, blah, blah. So I did my service. Doesn't count. Now, in that process, I was injured by a driver of a 7-ton. Some of you will refer to that as a deuce and a half. They look a lot like a pickup truck, just really big. That was my little girl waving again. But they look like an oversized pickup truck. You've probably seen them around. The driver made the choice to make a hard swerve, and due to some complications and laws of physics, I became injured in that. I still hurt pretty consistently from it. I'm not disabled. I'm able to work. But, I was injured because of somebody else's mistake. They lost the paperwork. So literally 5 years of my life, and it doesn't matter to Franklin County. Now, I know some people will disagree and want to argue. The first question before you argue with me on this topic is, are you a veteran? Did you serve? If not, your opinion on this particular topic is irrelevant to me. If you think that I'm wrong for calling myself a veteran when I didn't serve in a combat role. I did serve in a combat role. I just got really lucky and didn't have to go get blown up to prove it. But for the rest of you, I would like to ask you a big favor. And I'm not much one for involving the bureaucrats in day-to-day life, but
Why do you have
it's not just me. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of us that don't rate VA benefits and don't rate the assistance that they promised us because they changed the law on what counts as a veteran. So I'd like for you to get on your phones, get on your computers, get to your pen and paper. I want you to contact our congressman at the federal level. I want you to contact our state legislators. I want you to contact our governor. I want you to contact our mayor. This shouldn't be okay. My father-in-law is a prime example of people that this could seriously negatively affect. Under Ohio law, he's not a veteran. He served 20 years in the Air Force. None of that time counts as being a veteran. Dude served almost as long as I've been alive. That time won't count. There's boys out here homeless who serve their country because they can't get help because they're not veterans, according to the law. Well, they raised their right hand, they signed off on their affidavits, and they swore an oath to uphold and defend this country. And they did. They served with honor. But because some bureaucrat in some office decided that our service wasn't good enough, that promising to die apparently isn't as useful as actually dying. Now, I could go back in to the reserves, the National Guard, or active duty, get deployed, and then I'd be a veteran.
National Guard doesn't count, by the way.
Oh, never mind. I misread the paperwork. Thinking the National Guard doesn't count because they're state employees. They get deployed right alongside the men and women of the federal military, but because they work for the state, they don't count.
Daddy, why are you making videos?
Because, sweetie, I want people to understand there's a problem, and I want them to raise a fuss to fix it.
Okay.
So, there's men and women who have actually served our country in combat who can't get combat veterans benefits. There's men and women who have served our country for years who, by the grace of God, did not deploy. So they're not real veterans. Their contract somehow means less because they didn't die. So apparently our bureaucrats and our local, state, and federal government only like dead soldiers, only like dead Marines. They stand out there, they wave their flags, they say how they're going to stand up for us. You want to know why 60 to 80 of us a day die at our own hands? You want to know why so many of us are homeless? Why so many of us are on drugs and alcohol? Because we can't get the care we earned. I'm not asking for a handout. Neither is anybody in the military that I've ever met. They earned it. They earned it by swearing to die for this country if that's what this country needed. And now they don't rate that help. That's a dilemma to me. That's a problem. We honored our oaths. We honored our contracts. About time we start making them honor theirs too. They begged us to sign up. They begged us to serve. They begged us to put ourselves in harm's way, leave our family, lose our sanity in some cases, compromise our health. How many old veterans you see walking around in perfect health? There ain't many. Most of the boys coming back from Iraq aren't in perfect health either. They didn't mind that. But now they don't want to pay up on their end of the contract. Give us the benefits we earned. Not that we're entitled to. Not that we didn't do anything for. That we earned. So, again, please, contact your government representatives, your congressmen, your state legislators, your governor, your mayor. Let them know that our service counts. It's not our fault that we didn't deploy. I didn't duck a single deployment. I volunteered for like 200-300 of them at least. I believe that number is closer to 600, but you know, after slamming your head into the ground at high speeds, kind of affects your memory, by the way.
You should come over so you can eat Mommy's good cupcake.
And that is my wife giving an unofficial business plug for my lovely wife. That one, right there.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, she's going to hurt me for that one later. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't right. Men and women of this nation are called to arms to serve their country in a variety of roles. They should at least be able to get help from the same government that begged them to give up their lives. So I'm asking you to stand with me. Help me fight for them boys' benefits. Not just for me, but for all of them. Men like my father-in-law served 20 years in the Air Force, but he's not an Air Force veteran. So what they're telling me is if we don't die and they can't put us in a pine box, we don't matter.
Mommy, Rocky can't drink
If they can't make us a happy statistic to benefit their cause, to call for more money, like injured vets,
Yeah, you want me to scoop
and they
it
can't
out?
make a program for us so they can tax us more,
Okay.
we don't matter. I honored my contract and my oath to my nation.
Hey, you can just push
I'm not going to stop until my nation honors their end of the contract.
Come on, Anna.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to make them paid up. Not just in this aspect, but in the millions of violations they do a day against us. If they won't even protect the boys and girls that signed up for them, they won't protect anybody. If they're not worried about an uprising amongst us who are trained, you think they're really worried about anybody?
Well, what about the people that are actual veterans and come home and they don't get any assistance? Sorry.
I don't know if you heard that, so I'm going to repeat the question here. My wife asked, what about the veterans that did deploy and come home to get screwed over by the VA, by these veterans organizations that swore to help us? These are boys that in some cases lost limbs, lost parts of their body over there. They've got such mental issues from it that they can't work a job, and they get screwed over. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to demand of our federal government to force them to honor their oath and to pay up for the boys and the girls that they've sent to war. If you agree with the war or not, shouldn't make a difference that the boys and girls that have been there earned it. This nation, everybody waves their flag. Everybody screams about their rights. Memorial Day, Labor Day, Veterans
Rocky,
Day.
get over here.
Not Labor Day, sorry. Memorial Day and Veterans Day. You'll see the flags and the yellow ribbons and the
4th of July.
we honor our veterans. 4th of July, there will be celebrations and parades across this nation. And the day after all that, we go back to yesterday's trash. Because now we're not on a poster for 'em.
You know
Now
that,
we're not
Rocky.
killing for
You
'em.
in there with it.
Now we're not dying for 'em. I don't know. I always thought my service meant something to me. I know it means something to a few people. It just doesn't mean anything to the morons that decided to send me to combat, send us to combat. To the people that voted for war, to send us over there, not their own kids, but your kids, your neighbors, your family. They voted for a war. They begged us to enlist, told us it was our patriotic duty.
You know better.
Well, then isn't it their patriotic duty to take care of us? Stop us before we're homeless, or worse, got a bullet in our head.
Leave them alone.
The number one cause of suicide amongst adults and the number one cause of divorce amongst adults is economics.
He likes being robbed.
They lose their house, their bills are getting turned off, and they can't eat. And the boys and girls that swore their life to defend this country do it 60 to 80 times a day. And yet we're not addressing the causes. We want to scream the statistics. We want to scream the VA should help. We're not doing nothing because we changed the rules to make sure they're not counted. I'm not okay with that. Not at all. But I'm not going to bore y'all too much longer here. If you got any questions, comment them. I'll answer them as best I can. Y'all have a good day. Let's get our pens, our papers, our computers, and our phones out. Let's make these representatives answer us. Have fun, y'all.